Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Sorry for being on here so late on a Saturday night slash Sunday morning now on the East Coast, but my twins' favorite premium live event is the Royal Rumble. They love the Royal Rumble. They don't care anything about the women, just the men. By the way, if you jump on here live on this Saturday night slash Sunday morning, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure you give the video a like, a thumbs up. And if you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. Let the whole world see my beautiful, good looking face. It'll make your week, make your month, and make your year. So we watched the Royal Rumble last night now, since it's Sunday morning, at my pastor and his family's house. By the time it ended, we had to come home, wind the kids down, get them into bed, get them to sleep. So that's why I'm just now coming on here. Hopefully, we get some folks to come on here and comment and do it live. I always enjoy reading your comments, but the Royal Rumble was good. It was funny because I talked about the other day how they had only announced 4 matches, and they might would announce one more, but I doubt it because those 4 matches were going to take at least 3 hours, if not 3.5. Well, by the time the women's Rumble ended, that was the first match. It was 7:30 Eastern time, and it started at 6 o'clock. So they were an hour and a half in when the women's Rumble ended, and I thought, oh, this is a good 4 hours. So I'm glad they only had 4 matches, but of course, people are always prisoners of the moment because we live in a modern day microwave society where folks want results and they want them now and they want them fast, and we only remember the last thing we saw. So of course, people are now going to say this was the greatest Rumble of all time. I don't know about that. I know definitely in terms of match quantity, it wasn't because there was only 4 matches. I want to say there was 5 last year, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe last year was only 4. But in years past, when all they had was the men's Rumble, they usually would have 5 matches. But when you throw in the men's Rumble and the women's Rumble, both of those matches combined go about 2.5 hours. So it's hard to have 5 or 6 matches when 2 matches is going to be 2 hours and 45 minutes or 3 hours. Hey, Brandon, you got a great name. When your mama loves you, she names you Brandon, so you have a fantastic name. I love your name. Great name, by the way. But the one thing I did like about this year's Rumble, hey there, Diana, glad to have you here, was usually typically, hey, Mocho, glad to have you here. Y'all feel free to comment about the Rumble if you watched it. If not, anything in general that is sports or wrestling related. I don't know when your birthday is, Diana. You'd have to fill me in on that. And you're right, Todd. Todd is a great name. Today is your birthday. Well, happy birthday, Diana. I'm not sure if you're on the East Coast or the West Coast or the Midwest or exactly where you are. So I'm not sure if your birthday was Saturday or Sunday, but regardless, nevertheless, happy birthday to you. And Colt, thank you, Colt. And XANX, glad to have you here. And yes, I watch WWE. B, Doggy, glad to have you here. Loner Bear, glad to have you here. Thank all y'all so much for tuning in. Todd, I am on the East Coast. I am about as south as it gets in a state called Georgia. That's where I am located. Hey there, Austin. Hey there, Erbo. Glad to have all of y'all here. Hey there, Marcus. Glad to have you here. And everybody subscribe. Thank you, Colt. I really appreciate that. And that's what I'm fixing to talk about. I just started talking about the Rumble, but I have not really gotten in depth with it yet, but I am getting there. And no, spite, I am not. Hey, Kiara or Kiara, happy birthday to you as well. Somebody else just said today is their birthday. So we have two birthday people on here. Well, thank all of y'all for watching and tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. And Kiara, ever how old you are, I hope this is the best birthday you've ever had. And I wish you many, many more. And I hope this is the best birthday you've ever had. And that this birthday will be the most prosperous and best birthday of your young life. Hey there, Scotty. Glad to have you here. But on to the Rumble. We started out with the women's Rumble, and I did a video, I guess, about a week or so ago talking about the Rumble and the four matches. And I think in my prediction video, I think I even said that Charlotte Flair would win the women's Rumble. And I wasn't sure because I pretty much knew about 3 months ago that Charlotte was going to return at the Royal Rumble. Hey there, Ricky. Glad to have you here. But I wasn't sure whether or not they were going to announce it or just let her be a surprise entrant. So that's why I wasn't sure whether or not I wanted to pick her to win. But then when they came out and said she was going to make her return and be in the Rumble, I said, well, she's going to win because now it's not a surprise. Because if they don't announce she's going to return in the Rumble and you don't expect it, you don't expect her to win because you're just surprised she's back and you're glad she's back. But then all of a sudden, when you know for sure she's healthy and you know she's returning and she's going to be in the Rumble and she's Ric Flair's child, you pretty much think, okay, well, they've always pushed her like crazy because she's Ric Flair's daughter. So now that they've announced she's going to be in it, she's going to win it. So her winning it didn't surprise me at all, but the match was still very good. But the outfit Charlotte picked, I hope she never picks that outfit again. That was the most hideous, god-awful outfit she ever could have wore because, first of all, it doesn't get much uglier than Charlotte Flair to begin with. And she's out there with no butt at all, wearing these pants with nothing but her flat booty cheeks hanging out. And that's just about the nastiest thing ever. So I hope she never picks that outfit again. And Austin, that was probably the biggest surprise was Alexa Bliss returning because, I've been waiting on her return now for seems like, 6, 7, 8 months because she had the child and then she was ready to come back. Hey there, Amelia. Glad to have you here. And she just never did. And then they finally started saying she was going to come back, and for whatever reason, that didn't work. So I was beginning to wonder, if and when she was going to come back. So her returning was probably the biggest surprise of the women's Rumble. But even though the match itself was good, I think Charlotte winning it was pretty doggone obvious. And I'll be shocked if she doesn't choose Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. Then match 2 was the tag team match where we had DIY against the Machine Guns for the tag team championships, of course. Best 2 out of 3 falls. And the Street Profits came out, interfered. So it's looking like the long-awaited, long-talked-about, much anticipated, much ballyhooed heel turn of the Street Profits happened at the Royal Rumble. So DIY maintains their tag team belts. And then next we had the match that Austin just mentioned, Cody and Kevin Owens. And yes, I did thoroughly enjoy the match. It's hard to not like a match that has Kevin Owens in it because he is such a good wrestler. Kevin Owens could go out there and wrestle a ghost and make it a 5-star match. So it's hard to not like a match that has Kevin Owens. I didn't really care for the whole spot where they tried to make it seem like both of them were hurt. And then Sami Zayn comes out there and goes and checks on Cody and goes and checks on Kevin Owens and goes and checks on Cody and goes and checks on Kevin Owens because it makes it look like Sami Zayn is trying to interfere and trying to help one or the other. Everybody in the world knows that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are best friends. I mean, everybody's known that now for the last 10 years. So we know if Sami gets involved, he's going to help Kevin Owens. So that particular spot, I didn't care for at all. And it just seemed like it took away from the match to focus on Sami Zayn for a useless 2-minute spot. But outside of that, I thought the match was fantastic. Hey there, Peter, and no, Austin, I did not watch AEW. Glad to have you here, Peter. But the Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens match, outside of that one, I guess 2 or 3 minute spot that was just beyond stupid, was a fantastic match. And then, of course, the main event was the men's Rumble. And when I did my, prediction slash preview video, I even talked about how, this year's Rumble was going to be good because I really had no idea who was going to win it. And it seems like the last 4 or 5 years at the Rumble, the match has been good, but you pretty much knew going into it who was going to win. And that takes away from the luster of it because you feel like, yeah, it might be a good match, but I'm wasting, an hour and 20 minutes of my life that I'm never going to get back to watch a match. And I know what the final result is going to be. Well, I said I thought it would be either CM Punk or Randy Orton or John Cena. Randy Orton was not even in it. CM Punk was, of course. And John Cena was, of course. And John Cena was one of the final two in the match. But Jey Uso picked up the win. I did not see that coming because Jey Uso is so popular with the fans right now with this gimmick he's got that if he never won a match, it wouldn't matter because the crowd is fully behind him. So I'm glad he won. But at the same time, maybe I'm wrong, but I'd be shocked if Jey Uso become a world champion. And I don't really want to waste a match at WrestleMania having Jey Uso wrestle for the championship when I don't think Jay's ever getting a world title run. But I also don't know if giving Uso a world title would be a good idea. So I think it'd be an awful idea for Jey to be a world champion. But I also don't think he's getting the belt. So I think it's a waste of a match at WrestleMania to have Jey Uso wrestle for a belt that I just don't think he's going to get. So maybe they'll do something between now and then. I'm really not sure. Austin, I personally think after what happened at the Rumble, I believe WrestleMania is going to be John Cena and Logan Paul. And I think we're going to see a triple threat match between CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins, unless something happens between now and then. This year's WrestleMania isn't till almost mid to late April, and it's almost always either last week in March, first week in April. This year it's backed up about 2 weeks. I'm not sure why, so it's later than usual. So they have a way more time between the Rumble and WrestleMania than they usually do. So a lot could happen in the next 2.5 months. But I just don't see Jey Uso getting a world title run. Don't think he should. I think it'd be an awful idea. But I also don't want to see a WrestleMania match get wasted with Jey battling for a championship belt that I just don't think he's ever going to get. So we'll see what happens. But it was a great match. The one thing that made the Rumble better this year was this year they really truly focused on the current main event guys or semi-main event guys, mid-card guys, either on Raw or SmackDown. outside of Joe Hendry. You know, a lot of times in the past with the Rumble, they won't use but 20 current wrestlers, but then you'll see a DDP show up, or you'll see an Undertaker show up, or just I'm just throwing out names. You get the point. You just see guys show up that good and well ain't got a shot of winning the thing, just to get a little TV time, like a Bubba Ray or something like that. And then it takes away from the match because you've got 28, 29, 30 guys that could easily be in it, and you've taken away 10 spots to give the guys that have no shot at winning it. And this year, they didn't do that. There was no real surprises. There wasn't anybody in the match that I didn't expect to see in the match. I did expect to see Randy Orton, so him not being in it was kind of a surprise, but I don't know that it matters. His spot went to a current WWE or TNA wrestler, not just some wash up who showed up to get a little TV time and get their 15 minutes of fame. And Austin, I think you're right that the next one is the Chamber, but I don't know the exact actual date because they've changed it. Usually Royal Rumble is around the end of January, and then we have the Chamber at the end of February, and then we have WrestleMania either at the end of March or the very beginning of April. But this year we didn't have the Rumble until the first day in February, and then WrestleMania is not going to be until mid to late April. So I don't know if the Chamber is going to be at the end of February like normal, or if it's going to be in March. I'll try to go back and look coming up here in the next few days, but I will certainly watch it whatever day it actually does come on. So I think it was a great Rumble. The other thing I liked about it was in years past, they would always have 18, 19, 20 guys in the ring at one time. And that makes it almost unwatchable for that 8 or 9 minute spot that they're all in the ring, because when you have 20 guys in the ring at one time, you can't wrestle. There's no way. You can't move to wrestle. So all you see is a bunch of kicks or punches. That's all you can do. So it's like, oh my gosh, finally, somebody get eliminated, somebody get thrown out to make this watchable. Well, this year, especially with the men, once they got to about 15 or 16 entries into the Rumble, from that point forward, it seemed like there was never a time when there was more than 7 guys in the ring. So everybody in the ring actually was able to get in the ring and actually wrestle, which should be the biggest key to wrestling, is actually wrestling. So that made it very good. I still think, in my opinion, the 2 best Rumbles of all time was 1992 and 1995. But this one was good. But just because it's the one that just happened doesn't automatically think it's the best one ever. I don't. I think 92 was better. I think 95 was better. But this might be number 3. I'd have to think about it for a while, but it's definitely not 92, and it's definitely not 95. And yes, Austin, I did see Kurt Angle, and thank God I've got a daughter, because there was a spot in the men's match where Akira Tozawa was supposed to be in the match. He was number 8, if memory serves. I believe that's correct. But he was attacked before he ever got in the ring, and they showed him get carried to the back. So you knew right then something was going to happen, because they showed him go to the back and showed Triple H and Shawn Michaels sitting behind the table. And then Triple H gets up and walks over to some guy and points to him and tells him, go to the ring, basically saying, take Akira's spot. And they showed the guy, and I had no earthly idea who the guy was. Not a stinking clue. And it came on the screen and said who he was. And I still had no idea who he was. He had a jersey on that had his name, or at least half his name, on the back of it. And I still had no idea who he was. And luckily, my daughter, one of the girls at church, said he was a streamer. But I kind of gathered that when it came on the screen and said his name and said he was a streamer. But in all my Holborn days, I've never heard of him. No idea who he was. No idea what kind of videos he does. I would guess by the name it's something to do with going fast, but I really have no earthly idea. But any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. When I moved into my igloo, my friends threw me a housewarming party. Now I'm homeless. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of three. Tell your friends and family how much you love them.